On Tuesday, April 1st, people in the state of Wisconsin will be voting for a very important Supreme Court election, and this is one that you may have not heard of, but holds a lot of significance for the state of Wisconsin. Hello and welcome to today's video. The 2025 Wisconsin Supreme Court election will be held on April 1st, 2025 to elect a justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court for a 10-year term. The incumbent justice, Ann Walsh Bradley, is retiring after 30 years on the court. Although the Wisconsin Supreme Court justices are considered nonpartisan, Bradley is identified as a liberal and has voted with the liberal majority on the Supreme Court of 4-3 for Wisconsin, meaning the outcome of this election will decide the ideological majority of the court for at least the next year. By early March, the election had already become the most expensive judicial election in United States history, with 2 weeks to go before the election spending had topped $76 million and was projected to reach $100 million by Election Day. The in-person early voting period runs between March 18th and March 30th, 2025, with Election Day being April 1st, 2025. So that's some of the background information, and I want to show you now just really quickly Ballotpedia, where it does go over some of the political composition of the court. The justices on the court right now, the article mentions Ann Walsh Bradley. This is the seat that's up in this election right now. 10-year term, so she was last reelected in 2015. Now the seat will be elected by either the Democratic or Republican candidates. Other Supreme Court justices have Brian Hagdorn, he's considered to be a Republican. Ann Walsh Bradley, just mentioned, a Democrat. Janet Claire Protowicz, elected in 2023, a Democrat. Annette Ziegler, elected in 2007 and 2017, is a Republican. Rebecca Dalley, elected in 2018, a Democrat. And Rebecca Bradley, appointed by Scott Walker in 2015, elected in 2016, is a Republican. And Jill Karofsky, elected in 2020, is a Democrat. So as the article mentioned, whichever party wins the Ann Walsh Bradley Supreme Court seat is very, very important for the composition of the court seat, of the overall court. Although Wisconsin Supreme Court elections are nonpartisan, as the thing mentioned, media outlets have identified Susan Crawford as the liberal candidate, Democratic aligned, and Brad Schimel as the conservative candidate, Republican aligned. Just a little bit of background on these people. Susan Crawford is the Dane County Circuit Court judge since 2018 to now. Brad Schimel, he has been the Waukesha County Circuit Court judge from 2019 and was the former Wisconsin Attorney General between 2015 and 2019 under Republican Governor of Wisconsin, Scott Walker. As for what this general election has been like, there's been a lot of advertising, with both candidates and their respective supporters have spent heavily on advertising in this race, with total spending expected to top $100 million, doubling the previous spending record set by the previous Supreme Court election. Both candidates have received heavy financial support from groups and individuals based outside of Wisconsin, so a lot of outside spending. Schimel has criticized Crawford for her advertising spending sponsored by wealthy individuals such as Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and philanthropist George Soros, while Crawford has criticized the involvement of billionaire Elon Musk and his active support of Schimel. Elon Musk's involvement in the race has drawn particular attention due to his especially large monetary contributions, his open partisan support of Schimel as the Republican candidate in the, quote, nonpartisan race, and his role in the Donald Trump administration as the leader of Doge. Musk and his groups tied to him have spent more than $14 million on television and digital advertisements and funding campaign field operations. Musk has additionally funded a petition drive offering financial compensation to voters who declare their opposition to, quote, activist judges. Similar to a tactic he employed during the 2024 presidential election, multiple news sources have noted that Musk's involvement in the race began shortly after Tesla, which Musk owns, filed a lawsuit against a Wisconsin law which bans them from operating car dealerships in the state. Separate from Musk, Schimel's campaign has attacked Crawford for being soft on crime, drawing particular attention to her sentencing choices in child sexual assault cases during her tenure as judge, in which Crawford applied sentences well with below the maximum allowed. Schimel has also actively curried the favor of Donald Trump at more private events, telling election canvassers he'll be a support network for the president. Despite this, Schimel has repeated that financial or political support from figures such as Musk and Trump will not influence his decision on the court. He's also repeated talking points related to conspiracy theories surrounding alleged voter fraud regarding the Milwaukee's counting of absentee ballots. This part really isn't all that surprising. The Democrats have very high-profile donors, George Soros being chief among them. Republicans often criticize him. And now that Republicans have Elon Musk as a top donor, Democrats often criticize Musk. So it's really just the same thing on different political sides. There's really not too much of a distinction there. The Crawford campaign. Crawford has spent much political energy decrying Elon Musk's involvement in the race, claiming he's trying to buy the Supreme Court seat. At the same time, she has faced scrutiny over her financial backing. In January 2025, she drew criticism for attending a briefing linked to Democratic donors, with opponents arguing it signaled a partisan approach to the judiciary. Crawford has received over $1 million in campaign contributions from billionaire George Soros, as well as financial support from other prominent Democratic figures, such as J.B. Pritzker. So again, really not too much of a distinction. Elon's groups have spent more overall money, but again, really not much of a difference between what the Democrats and Republicans are doing in this race. Crawford has also attacked Schimel for his tenure as Attorney General, including the high number of untested rape kits early in his tenure. Schimel has countered these attacks by noting that the backlog was cleared by the end of his term, which ended after he lost the 2018 election. In addition to her financial support from figures such as Soros and Pritzker, Crawford has received additional campaign support from state and national Democrats. This includes the operation of a, quote, People vs. Musk campaign throughout the state meant to highlight opposition to the billionaire's actions and the Trump administration and its involvement in the race. Minnesota governor and 2024 Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz also held events in Wisconsin in support of Crawford. As I mentioned towards the end here, just some endorsements so far. Susan Crawford, the Democratic candidate, has Eric Holder, the former U.S. Attorney General under President Obama, Wisconsin Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin, Democratic Governor of Minnesota Tim Walz, some other judicial officials, and Walsh Bradley, who currently holds a Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin's endorsed her, as well as Louis Butler, a former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice, Rebecca Dalley, another Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice, Jill Karofsky, the other Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice, also endorsed, as well as Jana Protowisk, Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice. So all the Democratic Supreme Court Justices in Wisconsin have endorsed Susan Crawford. Not too much of a surprise, but still notable. Others individuals have endorsed as well, such as John Bowman, Harry Dunn, Ken Martin, George Soros, Minnie Tamaraju, and Ben Wickler. A lot of labor organizations have endorsed Crawford, as well as newspapers, Wisconsin State Journal, Shepherd Express, organizations, a lot of common Democratic-aligned organizations like Emily's List are on here, Citizens Action of Wisconsin, College Democrats, and a lot of other groups you would expect to endorse, as well as Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin, and obviously the Wisconsin Democratic Party. Schimel also has some very high notable endorsements on the Republican side, chief among them being the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, U.S. Senators, the Republican Senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, U.S. Representatives Scott Fitzgerald, Glenn Grothman, Brian Steele, Tom Tiffany, Derek Van Noten, and Tony Weld, and Maria Lazar, all endorsing Schimel as well. Individuals, Charlie Kirk of Turning Point USA, Elon Musk, Donald Trump Jr., all endorse Schimel as well, and a lot of labor and some labor unions as well. Milwaukee Police Association, Waukesha County Police Chiefs Association, and organizations such as the National Rifle Association Political Victory Fund, the NRA, Wisconsin Young Republicans, and Wisconsin Republican Party, and Americans for Prosperity. They did do a debate as well. That link is on YouTube. If you want to check that out, you totally can. The polling on the race right now, every poll that's been conducted in this race that has been factored in has been done by either Tyson Group or On Message, Remington Research, TIPB Insights, all of which are considered to be Republican pollsters. So we do have to take that with a grain of salt. But so far in the most recent polls, Susan Crawford has led in every single poll except On Message, which showed the race tied, and polls back in early February and January, which showed Brad Schimel nearly leading. It is worth mentioning the margin of error is 4 points. Crawford does not break 50% in any poll, but Schimel does also really not beat her at many polls either. What this says for the polling is essentially this is a very close race that is winnable by either candidate. Right now, the early polling indicator shows that Susan Crawford has more Democratic support shored up and more likely to turn out than Brad Schimel does Republican support, which is why you're seeing President Trump and Elon Musk making a lot of statements. When you look at the polling data, this actually is pretty similar to a lot of Senate races we saw in 2024, where the Democratic candidates had a solid base of support around 48%, 49%, and the Republicans would be at 44, 45%, because a lot of the candidates were either A, not well known, or the Republican base support has not been shored up. Schimel, right now, the highest he's gone in any poll is 47%, and that was a one-off. The most recent polls has him at 43, 39, 35, 38, and the second highest is 45. He doesn't come close, really, to Crawford being at 48%, which is her highest. 47 is the highest he gets, which, again, I'm trying to underscore the point. This is a very close race that's winnable by both sides, but just the early polling number right now shows there's a lot of undecided vote, though the Democratic support base seems to be more shored up and likely to turn out than the Republican base right now, which is why Trump and Musk are trying to get things going for Schimel. Right now, it's looking like the polling data suggests Crawford's likely going to win this race. It's going to be a very, very close race unless there's a big Republican voter turnout bump on Election Day that the polling is not showing right now. But obviously, we're going to have to wait for Election Day to see how that goes. Again, the election is going to be on April 1st. As we're talking about Wisconsin, I would like to show you some recent elections in Wisconsin. The 2024 presidential race, Donald Trump just narrowly won the statewide, 49.7% to 48.8% for Kamala Harris. But on the same ballot, the 2024 Wisconsin Senate race showed Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin winning re-election against Republican Eric Hovde by 0.9%, 49.4 to 48.5. As for the U.S. House in Wisconsin, I'm now going to pull that map up for you here. The Republicans won in several districts like 7, 3, 6, 5, 1, and then 8. And we also have Democratic wins in District 2 and District 4. And that's what Wisconsin looks like at the House level. Overall, when it comes to Wisconsin, Wisconsin's a state that's a very, very close competitive swing state at pretty much every single election cycle now at president, Senate, governor, House. Wisconsin's one of the closest toss-up states in the entire country, and I fully expect this election will be another very close race that we have to monitor. As I mentioned, the election will be on Tuesday, April 1st, so under a week away, and when we get the election results, I'll do a video breaking those down as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Please leave a comment below if you have any questions about this race or anything you need cleared up. I'll do my best to respond to all the comments and answer any questions that I can. If not, I can direct you to certain links and such about this race that may be able to give a better explanation. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember also to click subscribe as I post a new video every single day that you're not going to want to miss. Thank you so much for watching and hope to see you in the next video.